I've decided that without a captain's log to keep track of my day-to-day, I'd start collecting it all into a book in my ruck.
The week before the caravan's departure date,
myself and Mr Grainstone arrived into Baldurs Gate upon the refloated autumn's breeze. He went off to do his own thing. I believe he may have family or acquaintances within the city. I did not think to pry. I arrived and spoke with the shipwright Mr Albernacky. Confounded man. He agreed to begin work on her, but drained all remaining funds except a pittance as a down payment of sorts. He expects the rest upon completion. I think I shall have to find some other way to make an income for now. The other options are just too unpalatable.
Departure date of Caravan.
I have been meaning to write in this thing, but life has been moving fast. Mr Grainstone and I happened upon a job opportunity of a sorts, merchant's guard's work of all things. In all my time as a courser, I never suspected I would drift across to the other side of the work. We are heading to this place now with the intention of joining a crew to scout the newly discovered isles. Perhaps I can recoup some of my losses there.
Departure date of Caravan, midday.
We have been traveling for half a day now, to much happenings. Firstly, when we arrived to the warehouse, we were introduced to others in guard. There is 9 of us in total. Firstly, I met a big, incredibly muscular chap, Mr Spagosaurus. He works for the guild and said he came from one of the more tribal towns down south. Seems a solid fellow. Next came Mr West, an obvious false name, but I did not press. He appears like a Orocrocker at first, but is in fact an Owlin, being which I presume to be either a sub-race or perhaps closely related. He had with him a young lad of 4 or 5, perfect age to being a career at sea. I also met Emas, a quiet fellow with an accent I could not place. He seems a clever fellow and a very patient man when spoken over. Which brings me to Mr Firewisk, a dragonborn chef with an important sense of self. He is abrupt and a little abrasive. He seems to wish harm upon the child wool. However, he can cook up a particularly mean lunch, I say, while consuming his bougie rations. We also met Alan, a halfling cleric or holy man in service to Loothander. He seems mighty quick on his feet for how heavily armored he is. There were 2 others, however I did not get much chance to speak with them. First was Omar. He appears to be a half-orc of few words, and Elora, an elf. She appears to be a druid or forest priestess of some kind. We were all waiting and got introduced to our hirer, Raymond, and his clerical aides Eleanor and, I've forgotten the confounded gnome's name, Alexander perhaps. We got through introductions, then split our efforts among the caravans. We managed to get through the city without much issue. However, Mr West spotted someone he believed to be of a fey nature watching us. I hope he was incorrect in his assumption. On the way out of the main city and onto the road, we were accosted by starving refugees, who told us they were being denied entrance to the city. Tensions ran high when my attempted bribe was declined, but the others stepped forward to help also. Emas offered them jobs with an acquaintance he had coming, but they declined. I offered some food, but did not have much to grant, so Mr Firewisk stepped forward and conjured some magical berries to fill their stomachs. This seemed to take the wind out of their sails and allowed us on our way. We have since moved on a couple of hours and have stopped for lunch. Mr Firewisk has put a strong effort into making our existing rations a lot more palatable, and I for one am very much for it.
Departure date of Caravan, evening.
It is evening now and we're once again into the thick of it. To much luck, Mr West spotted some bandits up ahead in the road lying in ambush. Himself and Emas, reminder to get his last name, managed to sneak up and deal with a couple before it came to a full fight. We all pitched in, taking care to split our forces so some could strike from range but still be near the caravan in case this was a ruse. Mr. Asaurus strode into the fray and proved himself very capable, standing strong against their armored leader and 2 of his men-at-arms. Enos also managed to track down the final scoundrel to make sure they did not return to harry us further on our trip. The camp however became heated this night as Firewisk and Asaurus questioned the child's responsibilities around camp, seeing as he is getting rations without contributing what they consider a fair share. We managed to shift past that discussion for now, but I fear it is not over yet. I have a watch now with Mr. West. I intend to ask him for more information regarding what he saw in the city this day. I am already running low on my sherry, so this could turn into a very dull trip if the excitements of today do not follow us.